Hi there, today we're going to be looking at simple quadratic equations. Quadratic equations are equations where the highest power of the variable is 2. An example of a simple quadratic equation is x squared equals to 4. Here the variable x has a power or index of 2. This means that x multiplied x equals to 4. To find the value of x, we need to do the inverse operation of squaring. In the table, we can see that if the operation is squaring, the inverse operation is to square root. Similarly, if the operation is square root, then the inverse operation is squaring. For example, to solve x squared equals to 4, we square root both sides of the equation. On the left, we'll be left with x, and on the right, we'll have plus or minus square root 4. Note, do not forget the plus or minus sign in front of the square root. Therefore, x is equal to 2 or negative 2. This is because 2 multiplied 2 equals to 4. Negative 2 multiplied by negative 2 also gives 4. There are two answers to this equation. Quadratic equations usually have two answers. Here is our first example. Solve this equation. Y squared equals to 16. To get y by itself, let's do the inverse operation of squaring. We need to square root both sides of the equation. On the left-hand side, we'll just be left with y. On the right-hand side, we'll have plus or minus square root 16. We need to consider which number when multiplied by itself gives 16. Therefore, y is equal to 4 or negative 4. 4 times 4 gives 16. Negative 4 times negative 4 also gives 16. There are two answers to this quadratic equation. Here's our next example. Solve this equation. 8x squared equals to 72. At the moment, we have 8 multiplied by x squared. We need to do the inverse of multiplication to get rid of the 8 on the left-hand side. Therefore, we'll divide both sides by 8. We will then get 8x squared divided by 8 equals to 72 divided by 8. The 8's in the numerator and denominator cancel out, so we'll get x squared equals to 72 divided by 8 gives 9. To find x by itself, we need to do the inverse of squaring, which is square root. We will then get x is equal to plus or minus square root 9. Have a think about which number when multiplied by itself gives 9. Therefore, the answers are 3 and negative 3. 3 times 3 gives 9. Negative 3 times negative 3 also gives 9. There are two answers to this equation. Here is our next example. Solve this equation. X squared plus 40 equals to 89. We want to get the term with x by itself. Therefore, we need to move the plus 40 away. To do that, we'll subtract 40 to both sides of the equation. On the left-hand side, we'll be left with x squared. On the right-hand side, we'll have 89 subtract 40. We'll then get x squared equals to 89 subtract 40 gives 49. To remove the squared, we need to do the inverse of squaring, which is square root. We will then get x is equal to plus or minus square root 49. Have a think about which number when multiplied by itself gives 49. Therefore, the solutions are 7 and negative 7. 7 times 7 equals to 49. Negative 7 times negative 7 also gives 49. There are two answers to this equation. Here is our final example. Solve this equation. 5m squared subtract 4 equals to 176. We want to have the term with m by itself. Therefore, we need to move the negative 4 away. To do that, we'll do plus 4 to both sides of the equation. On the left-hand side, we'll be left with 5m squared. On the right-hand side, we'll have 176 plus 4. 5m squared equals to 176 plus 4, which is 180. To remove the 5 from the left-hand side, we need to do the inverse operation of multiplication, which is division. We'll then divide 5 to both sides of the equation. We'll then have 5m squared divided 5 equals to 180 divided by 5. The 5 in the numerator and denominator will cancel out, so on the left-hand side we'll just have m squared, And on the right-hand side, we'll have 180 divided by 5, which gives 36. To remove the squared, we need to square root on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. We'll then get m is equal to plus or minus square root 36. Which number when multiplied by itself gives 36? Our solutions will be 6 and negative 6. 6 times 6 gives 36. Negative 6 times negative 6 also gives 36. There are two answers to this equation.